The year 2025 was extremely hard for all of us in Jamaica. Category 5 Hurricane Melissa made a direct landfall on the 28th of October, and you might have seen this sensational footage from our town of Black River. But the thing is, Black River was not in the eye of the hurricane. In fact, to this day, nobody has documented what happened in Jamaica along the entire path of the eye of Hurricane Melissa. One of the reasons is that most of this area is a mountainous region with many small rural communities that are not easy to reach even under normal circumstances. And the hurricane made some of them completely inaccessible because of destroyed roads, debris, floods, and landslides. And yet I have filmed this entire area over multiple trips starting in early November, just a few days after the hurricane. It's a lot of footage, so before moving into the hills with this episode, I'd like to share the full story of the coastline where the hurricane landed. When approaching Jamaica, Hurricane Melissa had a clearly defined eye, which was also visible when Melissa made landfall at about noon local time. However, right after that, the eye was filled with clouds due to the interaction with mountainous terrain that disrupted its inner core. This is why people who were even in the center of the storm never saw clear skies and didn't experience the full calm of the eye, but rather just a reduction in wind force. Once the hurricane passed Jamaica, the eye re-emerged and became much wider on the way to Cuba. For reference, the average diameter of a hurricane eye is between 20 and 40 miles, but extremely powerful hurricanes usually have a much smaller eye, also known as a pinhole eye, and a rather compact eye wall, which was the case with Melissa. Its eye during landfall was only 11 miles wide, and the eye wall reached from 5 to 10 miles. So the actual eye path of Hurricane Melissa is not a thin line. It's more like this, taking into account the diameter of the eye and the approximate range of the eye wall, which widened as soon as the hurricane made landfall and became weaker. So the area affected by Category 5 or Category 4 hurricane force winds was relatively small, but the bad news is that the devastation caused in that area itself was extremely intense. For instance, this is Santa Cruz, which was just outside the edge of the eye wall, and even though the town was hit really hard, it was flooded, a complete disaster. Still, many houses managed to preserve their roofs. Whereas in Black River, the same type of houses barely had any roofs left. Also look at these two historic churches, located within only 10 miles from each other, both in St.Elizabeth parish. One was affected by the eye wall of the hurricane, hence the catastrophic damage and destruction, while the other was outside of it. So although it lost parts of its roof and some windows, the building is still fully intact. So now let's look at the entire coastline from east to west, and we shall start in a rural community right here, in the middle of nowhere, because this is the most southeastern point where the edge of the eye wall landed, somewhere between Treasure Beach and Parottee. So we're going from Treasure Beach to Black River, and I'm trying to check the coastal road, and of course even before the hurricane, it was pretty bad. I'm just, this is, okay. So so now a large part of this road is just washed off, and so it's just, if you have a four-wheel drive, it's okay, you can get through, or quite high car, but with any other car it's just impossible to get through here. So this part was pretty bad, and it starts somewhere halfway from Treasure Beach.
before we reached Treasure Beach, and actually quite a lot of places in Treasure Beach didn't really get affected as much. And also, I mean, we could see that there was some structural damage from Hurricane Beryl, because I remember I had filmed those places after Beryl, and they were being repaired, but Melissa didn't add to them. And some other places that were not affected in Beryl are now got some damage. So yeah, so that's the situation in this part of St. Elizabeth Parish. But then, of course, the closer we go towards Black River and closer to Westmoreland, actually, that's where the worst part begins. Because over here, the Treasure Beach, especially inland part of Treasure Beach, is not as bad.
The road you see here is Fort Charles Road, and it is one of the least visited places in Jamaica, which is a shame because this area on the South Coast has a very special type of beauty. This is where we usually have the most sunshine hours, and it is the driest region in the country. Unlike the rest of Jamaica, with its mountains covered in lush green rainforest, this part is mostly savannas with cacti, acacia and a rugged coastline. So this place truly looks and feels very different from the rest of the island. This is also where you find access to some of the most secluded, untouched miles of sandy beaches, absolutely free and open to the public. That is, the public that can reach here. There is a road that leads to a pretty unique place called Drifter's Hideaway Bar, which looked like this, but some parts were destroyed by the hurricane. Other than that, there are hardly any people who live in this area and no infrastructure, so the effects of the hurricane are not as obvious, except for more damage to the road and the greenery that was gone, and now fresh leaves are springing back. Before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to give special thanks to Toyota Jamaica, who kindly agreed to help with this project by providing this incredible vehicle, a modified Toyota Hilux. It's only because they trusted me with this truck that I was able to get through every community following the path of the eye of Hurricane Melissa right after the storm, regardless of road conditions. And because it's a pickup truck, while documenting the aftermath and recovery efforts, I was also able to bring essential supplies to people in affected communities during all of my trips, when this help was still very much needed. So special thanks to Toyota Jamaica for their amazing and timely support. Sometimes people in Jamaica try to save the roof from the wind by placing concrete blocks or sandbags on top. But check this one out. This is taken to the next level with a whole system of sandbags on both sides acting as ballast and creating a tensioned load path over the roof to resist uplift and keep the zinc in place. And apparently it worked. Look, the main house lost its entire roof, while this tiny board structure is still standing like nothing happened. But there are a few more surprising discoveries. Remember, this area was hit by Category 5 hurricane force winds, but because many houses here are of relatively good quality, they survived. In fact, some didn't even lose their roofs. And it might be partly because of this range of hills that accidentally protected them from the winds. However, some were not as lucky and were completely destroyed, like this place over here that now has only the base left. And yes, it was a proper house before. Turning back to the coastline, we see more structural damage, which is now the result of not only wind but also extensive flooding. And the water here stayed for weeks after the hurricane. We're approaching the shoreline of the Parottee community in St. Elizabeth, and having now travelled the entire island, I can say that this is the most devastated area I've seen in Jamaica. One of the reasons is that it had already been hit hard by Hurricane Beryl last year and hadn't fully recovered. By the time Melissa came, on top of the wind and flooding from the rain, it also brought a severe storm surge that destroyed many houses, including concrete ones. It was so bad that it also broke the road in half, and now this pond is fully connected to the sea.
That used to be a road, so it got destroyed by the hurricane. So the Parottee community is cut off from this side, and it's not possible to pass this road anymore. It's actually very deep. It's very, very deep. It looks like, yeah. Kitchen. Where are you bringing this from? Are you driving or are you?
I'm the driver. I'm Gary. We're coming from Black River.
Oh, so you're bringing from
Black River. We are in Dan's Motor World. That's where we're located. But other venues bring like the food away in Dan's, and we distribute it to the areas.
Is this your vehicle?
Yeah, this is my vehicle.
So you were a route taxi driver?
Yeah.
So tell me, what happened? You now turned.
No, well, we have to feed the people. That's it. We just started it, just go and start to help, and then we just continue to help.
Okay, but how did you get in touch with World Central Kitchen?
No, we were there helping, and they come and contact the people at the ground, and then we get involved with it.
Are you from this community?
No.
Where are you?
I'm from Black River side.
Well, so how's your home? How's your house?
I'm good.
Yeah? From Black River still, but up?
Brampton.
Okay. So did you get any damage or you kind of...
Well, my roof was slab top, so I was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Kishana. I'm from Westmoreland, Whitehouse.
Oh no! So that was really badly damaged too?
Yes, it is.
How's your house?
Well, not much damage. Just lose a door and water came in. Damaged a few furniture.
Okay. But you are here helping?
Yes, I am.
When did you start?
Last week, Tuesday.
Okay. So were they looking for volunteers or did you just come and say, hey, let me help?
Well, I see the work going on and I jump in and say, okay, let's volunteer too.
You're just packing up.
Look at that. Can get water from here. Okay. Oh, they're giving out those things? Oh, wow. Like they give out to all families or how do they do this?
Anybody who can come and get it.
Okay. All right, so this is Parottee community and honestly, this looks worse than anything I've seen so far. It's like after the war, like the war zone, like everything is. And also the weather doesn't help. Maybe that's why. But yeah, so also part of the road broke, so we can't pass. They do have water in now, but it was only installed like very recently. So this gentleman came here with a truck and he's getting water now. Let's see.
This water comes from Katabu. That's our close to Slipe. So we do distribution. We have more pubs like these, like in Slipe, Black River, but we're going now to Top Hill. Well, Hilltop. So that's our next location. The organization is called Samaritan's Purse. So it's a charity community from overseas, basically. So I was hired to drive around just to distribute water. That's just it.
Are you from this community?
No, I'm from Mandeville.
Okay. And that's your truck?
Yes, this
So
is my
they
truck.
hired you to help with this?
Yes. Oh, my name is, they call me Zeus. Yeah, that's the name. Right here's the name, that's Zeus.
This is also the community where the famous tourist attraction was located, called Floyd's Pelican Bar. It somehow survived Hurricane Beryl last year, but unfortunately now it has completely vanished. Then again, it's not the first time this bar has been destroyed by a hurricane, so let's see if a new version will be rebuilt soon. The Crane Road that leads from Parottee to Black River downtown was fully flooded, and many homes were also destroyed by the wind and the storm surge. And we're not talking about a vulnerable community with small board houses like you will see later in Westmoreland. This part of Black River had a lot of big, beautiful villas with swimming pools and access to a private beach. But the devastation here was so great that even modern, good quality buildings were severely damaged or completely wiped out. We can see this brand new house, the main structure survived, but look at these buildings. They're completely gone. This is Cloggy's on the Beach, a seafood restaurant that was the center of the Black River Film Festival in 2024. It was partly damaged in Hurricane Beryl, but Melissa made it really hard to recognize. I was really surprised to see that the bridge that leads to Black River downtown survived relatively well. The only bit of damage at the top is unrelated to the hurricane, it was there before. But now we have reached Black River. There are only 3 towns in Jamaica that are designated as National Heritage Sites, and 2 of them were directly hit by Hurricane Melissa, Falmouth and Black River. This is Black River the evening before the hurricane, and it might be the last footage of the area filmed before the destruction. We can see a beautiful park by the sea and the parish church that boarded up its windows preparing for the hurricane. I actually have a full video about this church on my channel that I published just a few months earlier, where we're trying to restart a 200-year-old clock and listening to the original antique organ.
Gallery that you see, the upstairs, that was added to in the early 1900s. The organ came to us in 1915, so it's been here for 100 and odd years, and I still try to play it as much as I can every Sunday.
The morning after Hurricane Melissa, the Prime Minister of Jamaica named Black River Ground Zero, and several hours later, the first shocking images from Black River became public. Such absolutely tragic devastation in Black River downtown was the result of several combined factors. Black River was affected by the top right side of the eye wall, often referred to as the dirty side of the hurricane, because this is where the most powerful winds are found. And these winds didn't just hit the town, they lasted here much longer than anywhere else in Jamaica. This happened because the hurricane kept wobbling around and then made an unfortunate turn, which extended the duration of the eye wall over this area to about twice as long as it would have been if the hurricane had just moved straight through. And because the winds on the right side blow directly toward the shore, they pile up seawater and push it inland, which is why Black River had an extreme storm surge with waves over 16 feet. According to locals, it was so fierce that it brought huge boulders that were picked up from the seabed and slammed them onto the ground and into the walls of buildings. In the next few days, almost every single foreign correspondent and several content creators made their way to Black River to get sensational footage and report on the disaster. And yet many of them did not even realize what they were looking at. Black River is one of the oldest towns in Jamaica, built in the late 1600s. And it was once the island's second most important commercial port after Kingston. Black River also had one of the largest numbers of heritage sites and historic buildings, from Georgian architecture to unique 19th century vernacular buildings, and most of them no longer exist. And it's not about the colonial past, it's what those places meant as part of our history and heritage, not only in Jamaica but in the Americas. For instance, this is the Waterloo House, which was the first private residence to get electricity in Jamaica and one of the earliest in the Western Hemisphere. It was right by the seaside in the center of Black River downtown, and this is the Waterloo House today. Of course, history and culture are not a priority when people have no shelter, food, or even drinking water, so the full focus was on immediate survival, and rightly so. But heritage does matter in the long run, and work is still in progress to determine how much heritage Jamaica lost because of Hurricane Melissa. Most of this footage was filmed during my trip on the 11th of November, and this is Black River on the 1st of December, when it was raining heavily, so the town looked even more dramatic. However, the cleaning efforts were still ongoing, and only a few minutes from the devastated downtown area, I saw a typical long line of cars at a local KFC branch that was surprisingly fully intact and already operating. It's like being in two worlds at the same time. The 1st of January 2026 in Black River began with fireworks, lights and lots of people who came to support the town and celebrate its resilience. Despite all the devastation and statements in the media, Black River was not destroyed. It's a big town and many parts, although badly damaged, did survive. And even though the rebuilding process will take a long time, it has already started. To understand what actually happened on the day when Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Jamaica, here is a wind field diagram of the storm as it was approaching at about 7 a.m. local time. A hurricane is a large system, and different parts of the hurricane have very different wind speeds. In meteorology, they are measured in knots and distinguished as tropical storm force winds, strong tropical storm winds, and the red shows hurricane force winds, which are 64 knots or higher. But it is this central part of the hurricane that does the most catastrophic damage, which is the eye wall, the part right at the edge of the eye. The most impacted area is always within the radius of maximum winds, and these winds are often asymmetrical, and hence analyzed in quadrants. It is always the northeast quadrant of a cyclone in the Atlantic that contains the strongest winds, aka the dirty side. To demonstrate the difference between all these wind speeds and the effect they have in real life, I'd like to share parts of a video that documented the entire landfall of Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica. It was filmed in a community called Crawford, which was even closer to the core of the hurricane than Black River, and actually experienced the eye. But first, this is Crawford 5 weeks after the storm, and as you can see, the devastation here is still apparent. The large building on the right is Crawford Guest House, which survived but lost its roof and had its third floor severely damaged. Also notice the remains of the building on the left, where the second floor is completely gone. It was accidentally captured on camera during the hurricane, so we know exactly how that happened. The tropical storm force winds began at about 8 a.m. Such wind force would usually result in mild damage with a few broken trees. And this is what hurricane force winds look like, which correspond to categories from 1 to 4. Now compare this with category 5 hurricane force winds. However, what you see is not the core of the eye wall yet, but just its edge. Now this is the eye wall, a complete whiteout. This historic footage was filmed by professional storm chaser Josh Morgeman. His full video is about 2 hours long, and I believe it deserves more attention. He has also published a well-written report, and I'm including links to his original work below. Make sure to check it out. The road to Whitehouse, which is the next community along the coastline, is now in relatively good condition. And I was happy to see that local people are already rebuilding the famous food stop at the border of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland. This is where we used to get really good escovaged fish and other seafood that is freshly caught in this very same area. So when you are visiting Jamaica next time, don't forget to make a stop here, enjoy the food and support this community. Documenting the hurricane's path meant days of driving and significant resources to cover long distances. So I'd like to take a moment and thank Total Energies, who kindly provided fuel to make these trips possible. Total Energies is the largest network of service stations in Jamaica, and it also sustained a lot of damage because of Hurricane Melissa. Despite this, they managed to get most of their stations back in operation within the first week, including the ones that were in the eye of the hurricane, like Total Energies Whitehouse, which was seen already up and running on day 2 after Melissa. Such a fast response was absolutely crucial because people relied on fuel not just for their cars, but more importantly, for generators as the only source of electricity. So many thanks to Total Energies for the great job they've been doing in Jamaica, and I genuinely appreciate the opportunity to big them up and highlight their work for my audience.
We're now in a community called New Hope in Westmoreland, and this place is precisely where Hurricane Melissa made a landfall in Jamaica. So it wasn't in St. Elizabeth, it was in Westmoreland. Now this community here has quite a lot of nice, really nice houses. I'm standing right by the sea here. And then you can see that really nice houses going that way and then all the way up in the hills. It's interesting that quite a lot of properties here are in relatively better conditions, even though this is where, Hurricane Category 5, when it was at its most power, landed. But because the structures here are of quite high quality, they made it through better than some other places. You can see this house is missing parts, but considering that it's right by the sea, it actually did pretty well. And right in the distance there, we can see Sandals South Coast that is currently planned for reopening for the 30th of May. But the community of Whitehouse, the actual town, looks much worse than the New Hope here.
Right after the hurricane, the center of Whitehouse was full of debris and hard to recognize. When I visited 4 weeks later, the roads were already cleared and the town was recovering. But the consequences of the hurricane in Westmoreland in general were extremely obvious. The people who had concrete houses in this area suffered a lot of damage. They lost their roofs, often doors and windows, but still many of these houses survived and were able to offer shelter to those who were not as lucky. Along this road, we can also see the remains of many small shops and businesses. After the hurricane, most of them looked like this, but some are already rebuilding, in many cases reusing materials found in the debris. And some are already reopened, like this small local food point here. But overall, because the western edge of the eye wall landed somewhere around Smithfield, the entire coastline, from New Hope and all the way to Savannah Lamar, was impacted and looked extremely damaged, even though it did not experience the maximum winds, like the area to the east of the eye did.
point here, my right is home up the top. That's where my big daughter living stay. It all smashed. The
All
top,
smashed up, yeah?
yes, the house top come off. And Beverly birth, and it was very rough. I had to sleep underneath the house the first night. When the hurricane,
What?
yes, we had was to take out some flooring board and come through under here. And when the breeze started to blow,
So you were hiding underneath the house?
Yes.
But what if it fell down?
So the young man opened the door and we got 1 going, 2 going, 3 going. Then they said, come Auntie Babe. And when I was going in, the breeze slammed the door like that and blew me, but my head was to hold to the door and then we get in. And then there was the big truck. You see the young lady just went down there. Is that truck was there. The truck was going over like this, off the wheel, over and like, and say, Lord God, we are going dead now. The truck going turn over and us. But me say, me not coming out. And we stayed there. And the breeze blew the water under.
But look, the board stayed. I'm surprised.
It's because of the truck. You see, through the truck was there.
The truck was
yes,
blocking the
so,
wind.
right. So the truck, so you could see. And I was trying to go over to the church. I could not find the key.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't go to the
Yes,
church.
I was there searching because it's me take care of the church. I was searching for the key and couldn't find no key. And while I was there here when my son-in-law said, Auntie Babe, look, see the church top up on the bus. When I came out and looked, there was the top of the church right on the bus there. And then I don't know what it was, but something slapped me in my head. I don't know if it was the tree limb break down and slapped me. And I pulled back inside. And then I pulled back inside. You could hear, whee! The thing that started to come off the house and fly away. The black tank, then they came and give us water there. So that's where we got water. And, you know, we try to help ourselves. I'm grateful for it. I told them I'm very grateful because I could get to wash a lot of my sheets, bed linen, dirty clothes. Everything was molding down.
So how are you coping 1 month later? What do you do?
Well, I work with a doctor, like clean domestic, wash, iron and, you know, clean and stuff.
Thanks. Thank you so much. All right. Yeah, stay safe, okay? Okay. All right, darling.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much also for the interview. Man, I don't know how to give the car back. It's not my car. They just gave me to drive and film.
Okay, it's not your car.
I don't have a car.
Okay, so
Yeah, man.
going to see you again.
Well, I'll try to make it.
Yes, man.
Try to make it next time. Yeah, man. All
What
right.
is your name?
Thank you, Beverly. I'm Irina.
Irene.
Like the Jamaican word IRIE. Yeah, man. That's my YouTube channel, Jamaica with IRIE.
Irina. I hope I see you again.
Yeah, man. Respect, man. Thank you. Thank you, darling. All right, guys. I have 2 boys and 2 sons.
When the aircraft measured that Hurricane Melissa had a maximum sustained wind speed of 185 miles per hour at landfall, it doesn't mean that the entire hurricane had such wind speeds, or even the entire eye wall. It only referred to a specific small area in the top right quadrant of the eye wall, which landed along the coastline in Black River but also touched Parottee, Crawford and Whitehouse. All of these can be called ground zero, but technically it is only Whitehouse that is the real epicenter of the hurricane. Despite this, everything to the left of Whitehouse, especially the areas between Belmont and the Cave, looked like the most devastated area in all of Jamaica, even weeks after the hurricane. However, this happened due to a completely different problem that had existed long before the hurricane, and that problem is the so-called informal housing, in Jamaica often referred to as the problem of captured land. It's a very sensitive topic and I won't go into details here, but the context is important. So, in short, Many residents in these communities lived in fragile wooden so-called board houses, on land they do not own. They either unofficially rented a house spot or settled down without any prior arrangements. As a result, even if they could afford to build a concrete house, they often chose not to, and instead lived in a temporary structure which could be literally moved if landowners took action to make them leave. Here is a map that shows the approximate distribution of structures with weak walls in Jamaica, which mostly refers to board houses. As you can see, the percentage of these houses is particularly high in Westmoreland, including along the coastline. Such board houses were not built to withstand any storm conditions and of course were completely flattened by Hurricane Melissa, scattering debris all over the area and within one day leaving thousands homeless. And a further problem is that many people in these communities cannot even apply for help to rebuild their homes because they were never officially registered. So the houses that were destroyed never existed in the first place, that is, legally on paper. According to statements by the government of Jamaica, they have been trying to address this particular situation in Westmoreland, especially after Hurricane Melissa, but it's going to take a while, and people need somewhere to live now. So all they can do is rebuild their fragile houses again, which will only last until the next storm, and the tragedy will repeat itself unless something is changed. Bluefields is a beautiful community with absolutely spectacular views, even in the midst of the devastation. It's just breathtaking, especially at sunsets, as it's facing west. So no wonder that this is where we also find some totally gorgeous accommodation by the sea. Everything from unique boutique hotels like the Bel Air or the Lunacy Inn to top luxurious places like the Bluefields Bay Villas. Now, of course, most commercial properties located by the sea, though survived the hurricane, were quite badly damaged. And yet, despite that, before rebuilding themselves, they first directed their efforts towards helping their staff and people in the nearby communities, especially hard-hit places like Belmont. Some were able to offer shelter and host distribution points like the Bel Air did. Others were collaborating with large organizations, like the team from Bluefields Bay Villas partnered with World Central Kitchen to cook free meals. And for Christmas, they also partnered with Fontana Pharmacy to bring toys to children and hygiene kits with basic necessities. So the good news is that overall, a lot of urgent help was directed specifically into these communities in Westmoreland. Free daily meals were given at many locations, drinking water points placed strategically, and there were regular distributions of care packages. All these large recovery efforts are the result of a network that consists of UN agencies, NGOs, charity organizations like Food for the Poor or World Central Kitchen, and many other partners that are all collaborating with each other as one system. And in charge of this system is the government of Jamaica. What I found quite interesting, though, is the visibility gap between frontline volunteers and the back-end operation. Local residents who received help were often unaware of the logistics behind it and didn't realize that a lot of this support was coordinated and managed by the government. Instead, to this day, they genuinely believe that it was coming from some random strangers and organizations, and some sadly felt like they were left out by the country. But in any case, emergency support alone is never enough. While it helped people survive the first weeks after the hurricane, the situation is far from over. What communities need now are a lot of building materials, and above all, jobs. The faster businesses reopen, especially in the tourism industry, the sooner people can return to work and get their lives back to normal. So if you're planning a holiday this year, make sure to consider Jamaica as your destination, because you can enjoy the beauty and at the same time contribute to the recovery efforts. If you'd like to see what happened in the rest of this area that was affected by the core of the hurricane, including the cockpit country and some of the most remote communities, check out the next episode where I'm driving the eye path of Hurricane Melissa from south to north. Thank you so much for watching. Many thanks once again to Toyota Jamaica for providing the vehicle and to Total Energies for providing the fuel. I'd also like to mention that all the work you see in this documentary, from research to editing, is sponsored by you, our audience. So I'd like to give thanks to everyone who liked and shared our videos, but especially to our patrons for their continuous financial support. And also to people who send one-time contributions to cover some of the costs of the supplies that are brought into the affected communities. I really appreciate all this help, and if you'd also like to support our project, you can do so by contacting me directly or on Patreon from only $5 a month. Thank you, I hope you have found this video interesting, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.